Well, welcome back to Impact. I'm Darieth Chisolm. Well, for this next segment, you might consider this a one-room schoolhouse. It's Virtuous Academy, and joining me to talk more about it is its president and teacher and everything at the school, Ayanna Tin. And thanks so much for being here on Impact today. It is, in fact, just that, a one-room schoolhouse, if you will. The back in the olden days, when that's where kids did of all ages, they showed up and they were taught by a teacher. That's essentially what's happening for you and a group of students, 8 of them, correct?
Yes.
Tell me why. I mean, why start a small school and serve the needs of just 8 children?
I do have the passion and the goal to expand, just to bring back the pride in education at Duquesne. I think whenever I left, because I am a native of the community, and I went to another school in the state of Virginia, I was very behind. I was far behind in my academics, but I had always been a 3.0 or higher student, and I just felt like whenever I had the opportunity to finish my degree, I would come back. So initially I wanted to be a teacher at Duquesne, but God just led me in a different way.
And it led you to establish your own school.
Yes.
And in the state of Pennsylvania, you are able to do that, obviously, by meeting some regulations, which are?
You have to either be sponsored by a bona fide church or incorporated as a religious institution. And then you also have to attend a conference in Harrisburg. There's a ton of paperwork for the IRS that you have to do, as well as for the Department of Education. And there's a lot of, you have to be in communication with the public school, the district, whichever the children come from, and just maintain all of your records.
Now, you told us why. You really felt like that what you got in terms of education was not suitable, and so you feel a strong need to make sure that children are educated. You don't have children at all, and so obviously they're not one of the 8 children that you teach. But how do you do this? I mean, when you think about running a school, albeit small, 8 kids, it sounds like a big task.
Actually, it is. It is a very big task because of the community kind of being poverty-stricken, and it's a battle with myself because a lot of this is new. The education kind of comes naturally. I think I'm a good teacher. I think even before college, I taught people to do different things just from talking with them or showing them how to do it. But the running the actual school, it has its good days, it has its bad. I do have a supportive board that helps me, and they do what they can to try to help us spread the word. And God has just put people in my path, like running into you, and it's just growing. It's, you know, the building that we're currently in right now, I remember walking around that building maybe 7 years ago saying this is where I want to be, and I'm there. So it has its moments where it's like, oh God, how do I keep going? And then He shows me how. So.
We've got some video of the kids. We'd like to show that to you now, if we could, at least the classroom there, where you can see the kids who are learning in your classroom. There are 8 students. What are their age range?
Between 12. My youngest is 12 and the oldest is 16.
And so how do you, with 8 students, obviously that's small enough, how do you then base the curriculum? Because you've got a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old who obviously are learning at different. No, they're not. Okay, so tell me about your curriculum.
It's considered, the curriculum that I chose actually comes from North Carolina, and the reason why I chose it was because Virtuous Academy has a concentration in the arts. So the curriculum that I chose covers everything from math to music, and the children are pretty much based on ability level. I've come up with my own little thing. It's called Swiss cheese, and in some places they seem to have holes in the education that makes it hard for them to learn according to their age level. So what I'm trying to do is fill in the gaps of the education that they've missed somewhere to push them to where they are. So sometimes I do differentiate math in 3 different, sometimes I'm teaching algebra, 5th and 6th grade math all at the same time. And it's just planned in a way where when one group is doing seat work, I'm teaching another group, and the other group is reviewing how to do it, and then I just rotate from there.
And you must, by the state, obviously, even though you're following a curriculum that's based out of North Carolina, you must, in this state, still make sure that you're teaching English, spelling, reading, writing, arithmetic, the basics, obviously.
Social studies,
Social studies. And so all of the kids are going through the same curriculum at the same time, no matter what their ages are, and what you call this Swiss cheese dynamic. That's an interesting way of putting it. But you, in addition to being heavily interested in the arts, also still call this a religious school.
Yes.
And so you spend some time, obviously, talking about a religion.
About a half an hour in the morning, we pick a scripture, a topic, and find scriptures based on a topic, and we discuss that in the morning before breakfast for about a half an hour. And then, of course, throughout the day, if a child says something like, I can't do this, then I'll say, yes, you can. You can do all things through Christ Jesus, which strengthens you. Or, you know, if they do something that another child does and they know it's wrong, then they'll say, well, I did it because of so-and-so. And I say, well, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So the Christ in you is supposed to shine versus you doing something that you know is wrong.
Now, it's just you in the school. This isn't, I mean, there are 8 kids, and so, you know, most students, if you even looked at a classroom, there's obviously 1 teacher to 25, 30 kids in some school districts. So 1 to 8 is a great ratio, but the kids have no other interaction throughout the day with any other teachers or supportive aides except you throughout the day.
We do have a caseworker that comes in for 2 hours, Monday through Friday. She is assigned to 1 student. But she kind of still has her eyes with the other kids. She kind of has a reputation with them now. And volunteers, we get volunteers that come and do different assignments. The Umoja Arts sent over Mr. Tim Juin. The children called him Mr. E. And they did paper mache. We had another young lady that volunteered 3 days a week, Tamitra Miles. She's a teacher. And she came out and she spent about 2 or 3 months with the students. And then we've just partnered with a program called Super Kids Tutoring, and they're going to be sending out tutors during the day that will work with the children in small groups.
And so when you think about where your school is going, I mean, it's just you, you've got 8 kids. Obviously it takes funding. It takes money to do anything these days.
Right.
How are you operating?
As of now, it's just been a faith walk. I'm a volunteer for my own program, so as far as the actual program, we get donations on maybe Facebook, or some people who've seen us in a newspaper may send out a check. I've actually met a lot of people through networking and going to different conferences, and people send us small gifts and they keep us going. And then of course tuition helps pay for the students to eat. We do get a stipend from the state for books and supplies, so our gym equipment and then all of our textbooks were actually paid through the state.
Now, you recently had to move because of acts of vandalism. Well, you had to move because of some other issues in terms of the board with the establishment that you were with, but then you also had acts of vandalism at the place that you're at now, correct?
Yes.
What happened?
I believe it just was some children, may have been bored. They didn't do anything too terrible. They took a fire extinguisher and just kind of sprayed it all over the floor and in our eating area. And those are one of the moments where it's like, how do I go on from here? And then maybe within the 45 minutes, all of my students were there with mops and brooms and rags. And my one student, Calvin, he just looked at me and he said, Miss Iona, they can't stop us. So we cleaned up that morning, and by that afternoon, we did reading and math.
So that just shows you that the kids really wanted to be there, that they would come with their own mops and brooms to be there. But before we talk about the kids and their commitment to being in this small atmosphere of education, I do want to address the issue, though, of where you were at another church and had been there since your inception, but recently left because of a falling out with board members, correct?
Yes.
And what happened there?
I believe it was just a state of two different visions. I've always known that I wanted Virtuous Academy to belong to the community. We were to be independent, belonging to the community, and people that had a vision for or passion for the community would come along and kind of help us. And I believe that particular board wanted us to be a part of the Church of the Nazarene. And whenever I kind of spoke up to say that that's not the direction that I felt, you know, that we had previously discussed in the summer, they just left.
Well, we're running out of time, but what I do want to do before we get you off the program and have to wrap up is to give you some information. If you're interested at all in learning more about the Virtuous Academy, you can go to their website at virtuousacademy.org or call the number on your screen to get in touch with Ayanna if you have questions about it. And as you said, you do accept donations, and so I would imagine that people who see the vision around this, particularly in the Duquesne community, or perhaps might be even interested in sending their children to the school,
yes,
can contact you via the website and or by telephone to get more information about ways to send their children there and or ways to donate.
Yes.
Okay, and you also have a fashion show coming up, if you can tell us quickly about that.
At Virtuous Academy, instead of doing uniforms, it's based on colors, red and black solids. So the children can kind of dress in any style. They just can't do the logos and the name brands. So annually, we've begun a fashion show where the parents will get to see how they can kind of jazz up the red and black and not spend a whole lot of money and not go crazy with the logos. But of course, it's also incorporated in family and fun.
And that's going to be on May 8th at the August Wilson Center.
Yes.
You can contact virtuousacademy.org for more information about that. Ayanna, we've run out of time, but thanks so much for being here on Impact.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And have a fabulous day, everyone.